I don't like to sing just by myself, or I don't like mercenaries, you know, people that go and pick whatever they want from each this or this entity. I'm not that kind of guy. And secondly, it's just because the motto of Dagoba is we are doing the music that we enjoy to play and that we don't listen from other artists. And we are totally free, and we put whatever, which influence we like into Dagoba. We chose to be free to create that type of music that just please us. So I don't feel the need to go and do something else. You know what I mean?
Hey, what's up, Vox and Hops heads? I'm Matt, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, brought to you by Sound Talent Media and Evergreen Podcasts, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians, talk about their lives, music, and craft beer. Hope you had a killer weekend. I most certainly did. This Vox and Hops episode is presented by Heavy Montreal. Heavy Montreal are Montreal's premier metal promoter, and I'm very stoked to have teamed up with them to bring you Heavy Montreal Presents Vox and Hops Brutal Montreal 2022. This year's event is taking place on September 2nd at Corona Theater and features Deicide performing their classic album Legion in its entirety, along with Cataclysm, who will be performing their classic album Serenity and Fire in its entirety, and we have Inhuman Condition that is opening up the gig. Tickets are flying for the show. Honestly, if you want to come to the gig and hang out with me, because I'm going to be there and enjoy life, metal, and craft beer alongside me at Brutal Montreal, you better pick up your tickets soon. I've put the link in the description of this podcast. Don't wait. Trust me, you're going to regret it. It's going to be a killer time, and I cannot wait. I am so stoked to have Heavy Montreal behind the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast. Now, before we jump into today's episode, I'd just like to ask you to follow the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast on the podcast platform of your choice. But more than that, I would love for you to take a few minutes to write a review for the podcast. Now, why would I want you to do that? Well, you have to imagine that when someone is looking for a new podcast to listen to, what do? They scroll down, they look at those reviews, and if those reviews say that the podcast is amazing, and that I ask great questions, and that all my guests are super cool, well, they're most probably going to give that podcast a chance. So by you taking a few minutes to write a review for the podcast, you may actually be the person that helps sway someone's decision to become a brand new Vox and Hops head, and that would be something that I would truly appreciate. Now, today on the podcast, I'm with Shawter of Dagoba. Get ready, everyone. This is Vox and Hops episode number 343.
I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Today was Shawter of Dagoba. How are you doing? It's a glorious day. It's beautiful. We're hanging out. Let's start with how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. Thank you very much. It's very sunny in south of France. So, it's been a good day.
Good. That makes me happy to hear that. I miss the south of France. I miss France in general. I miss touring. I miss being on the road, and I can't wait to get back there eventually. Let's jump into the shittiest question I'm going to ask you. How did you cope with the glorious years, plural, of 2020, 2021, and hopefully not most of 2022? How have you been doing throughout these crazy, crazy times?
We had to, I think just like you, we had to cancel a lot of gigs. So we decided to dive into the production of our newest album. And we spent like the first 6 months of the lockdown, finishing the songwriting, all arrangement, and then production. And then we started to work on the release of this album. So it has been busy at the end. And but we now can't wait to get back on the road because we miss it so much.
Well, it's such a big part of our identity, right? Being out there performing, it's like a yin and yang of our lifestyles, where we're either huddled up in the studio or getting ready to go into the studio, or we're out performing. And it's such a big part of our identity that was something that we didn't get to do, sadly.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, we had two options, or either you lay down on the floor and cry, or you continue to produce and to create, and that's what we did.
Good for you guys. And you guys did do that. You created an album called By Night. It came out February 18th via Napalm Records. It's a banger of an album, catchy as hell. We'll talk a little bit more about it later, but first, it's Vox and Hops, so we got to talk about some beer. Let's jump into it. Vox and Hops is all about hanging out with my metal friends, talking about their lives, music, and craft beer. Now, what are you going to be drinking on your side today that we will be sharing virtually?
Actually, I'm drinking. I'm really drinking multivitamin. Because
Capri-Sun. I love it.
yeah, exactly. You know that?
Yeah, definitely. We have that over here.
Yeah. And but because actually, to be honest, I don't drink beer at home. I have no alcohol at home.
Good.
Yeah, never. So I mean, sometime me and my wife share a bottle of wine or some beer, but at home I never drink. So yeah, but when and when I'm out, yeah, sometimes I drink some beer or some whiskey.
I like that. I like that. On my side, I will be drinking also a juice, but you know, it is a beer still. This is something that just came out recently. It's called Monstrosity. It was a project that Kahnawake Brewing just released actually last week, and it's he teamed up a bunch of craft beer media people, craft beer content creators, influencers, if you want to say, and I was a part of it. Stoked to be a part of it.
All right, good.
So this is a smoothie sour, which has a whole bunch of ridiculous things in it, such as carrots, mangoes, peach, marshmallows, and yeah, I think that's it, and cinnamon, actually, yeah. So this is Monstrosity. This was my team's version because there was two teams, and the other team created another version which had like passion fruit in it, cherries and strawberries. Obviously,
I like the packaging.
It's super sick. Shout out to Philip Ivanovic, the Vox and Hops alumni, who created this logo for the can art there. He's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. So this is my version. There was like a competition. Which beer was better? Obviously, mine was better. Come on, carrots in a smoothie. I'm gonna crack this, and I would love to hear about your first beer. Do you remember the first beer that you ever drank?
Oh.
What would have been the first beer that you ever drank?
I would say I'm probably it was during our first rehearsal ever, I think, when we were like 40 or 15.
Amazing.
14 or 15, and yeah, at that time we were drinking drinking beers because it was so warm in the rehearsal room, and yeah, we had to refresh ourselves.
Stay hydrated. It's very important to the creative process of creating music.
Yeah.
Cheers to that. Cheers to that first beer. This pours out thick.
So it's the carrot and cinnamon.
Exactly. Carrot, mango, peach, cinnamon, marshmallows, all thrown into this. The guimauve, all thrown into this to, and it's sour, and then like a sour base beer. So it's a fruited sour is what they call it. So it's my juice of the morning. Cheers.
All right, cheers.
It's amazing. It's tart. The carrots are very subtle, very fruity. The cinnamon really pops at the end. A lot of vanilla going on too from the marshmallows. Very cool. Shout out to Drew from Kahnawake Brewing. It was also created for their 4th year anniversary. Love Drew, love Kahnawake Brewing. This is amazing. I would love to hear about this not drinking at home. What is this concept? When did you start doing that? What is the reason why you don't drink at home?
I don't know. I when I was, yeah, I think I had alcohol at home when I was around 20 to 24, and actually then I had my first son. So I had other responsibility at home, and yeah, I remember I had at that time I had a regular job plus Dagoba plus my young kid. It was too much responsibility, too much work, and I couldn't afford to even have a drink or two at home. So since that time, yeah, I don't know, I stopped buying alcohol for home. Of course, as I told you, when we have some guests or a special dinner, we buy some wine or whiskey or whatever. But yeah, on a regular day, I don't have alcohol at home.
So it's true. You're 100% right. I have 2 young kids as well. Young children and a bunch of responsibilities do not mix well with not feeling well because you enjoyed too many beers the night before. Does not mix well.
But I mean, I'm really not into like I'm not straight edge at all. I'm not. I'm just like enjoying beers and alcohol when I'm out with my friend on tour. But yeah, when I realize, because you asked me, I have no alcohol at home for ages.
That's good. That's a perfect tactic, especially if it's there. We're gonna drink it. I do the same thing, but with bad food. I don't bring any junk food into the house. I'll eat it. I'll eat it. If it's not there, I won't take it. Right? And I won't go to the store to buy it. That's for damn sure. So.
And I mean, actually, when we buy some beers, I don't have time to drink them all, because I see my wife and my son, which is now an adult, do it. So yeah.
Good for you. Congrats. I'd love to hear about the soundtrack of your youth when you were growing up in your parents or guardians' house. What music was playing when you were not in control of the radio? What music did your parents or guardians listen to?
My parents? When I was young?
When you were, exactly, yeah. What would have been playing around you as you were growing up, your formative years?
Actually, my family is not a musician or meloman at all. They don't listen to music.
Really?
So yeah. I remember when I start listening to metal. Actually, they offered me a Walkman, and but without tape, because they didn't know that it needed some tape to play some music.
Yeah.
And so I had this Walkman, this empty Walkman, and one of my uncle, who was really into metal, he offered me a tape of Napalm Death and Metallica, and that's how I started to listen to not even metal but music, because my parents weren't listening to music.
Very interesting. Very interesting. The Napalm Death, Metallica. Do you remember that first moment of putting that headphone on and then being exposed to this? Were your friends into music? Was it at that point where other people were into music, which is why you started getting into it?
No, I was alone, because I was really young. I was like maybe 9 or 10 years old. So at that time,
I love it.
Yeah.
starting at the maximum.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, it was a bit too much Napalm Death, but the Injustice for All album was something. It was just like listening to the concept of freedom. I was like, hey, those guys can scream, can sing, can play guitar clean, can play fast, can play low, can distortion, whatever they want. And they played like long track, short track. It was insane. And I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do, because this is freedom.
And take the rule book and like throw it in the garbage.
Exactly. And I at that time, I didn't know about who were those guys. I didn't know about the face of James Hetfield or Kirk, or I didn't know they were touring worldwide. I just had this tape and listening to this white tape, and yeah, it was just freedom.
Fast forward to, I think it was 2006 or something. You guys toured with Metallica or did some dates with them in Spain. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Could you imagine like time capsuling yourself, going back to that moment with the Walkman, your uncle giving you that tape? One day you're going to tour with this band. Imagine.
Incredible. And yeah, it's one of the dream I had that became true thanks to Dagoba, and it's such an unexpected journey at the end.
So damn cool. It's like, see, there's few things that can top that, right? For myself, it was like I always wanted to play Wacken. I finally played Wacken, and I was like, okay, now I want to play Wacken, but on the big stage. So I'm never satisfied. I don't know if you have the same approach. Stuff like I always wanted to tour with Metallica. I did some shows with Metallica. What's next? You know?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but I tend to appreciate what we already had, because as I told you, it was absolutely uninspected, and but of course sometimes I'm thinking, hey, what's next, as you said, and I said, for now, with the 2 years we had, all of us, I think that what's next is just being back on the road and, you know, meeting each other and having fun with the audience and stuff, you know. It's gonna be perfect.
Seeing those family members, our extended family.
Exactly.
I'll give them a shout out. Shout out to Mega, my sound man TM from Mallorca, the Mallorcan King. I miss you very much if you're listening to this. I love you, dude. It's been a long time I haven't seen you. I'd love to hear about your first shows. Do you remember the first show that you went to go see?
I think it was I think it was probably Metallica with the same uncle. Yeah, that offered me that tape.
Yeah.
And they were touring. It was after. Yeah, it was for the Black Album. 19. Yeah, I think 92 or 91 in Paris. Yeah, it brought me there. It was at that time, you know, the Snake Pit.
Yes. Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
The Snake Pit stage.
So
and that
cool.
that was during that tour. I was very
Were
young.
You were in the Snake Pit though?
No. I was not rich enough to get there.
Do you remember that vibe of being there? And you know, at that point, you've mentioned that when you first listened to Injustice for All, you were like, oh, all the rules, there's no limitation anymore. Do you remember being at that show and seeing them performing?
Yeah.
And then imagining yourself do it one day?
Yeah. At that point, I was like, I have to do whatever it takes to make this metal for a living. And because I was listening to a tape is something, but going and seeing a live, it's something else.
There's so many more senses being assaulted.
Yeah. and plus, I mean, they were playing in Paris, and I knew that they were from California, and I was like, so because of your music, you can travel around the world, and that excited me a lot, because I love to travel. I love to meet people from around the world, and discovering civilization, food, beers, whatever, and traveling. It's very important to me. And when I discovered that, you could make that kind of music, inspiring freedom to you, and plus traveling, the whole concept of freedom was a 360. You know, it was total freedom.
So you're at that Metallica gig. Do you remember your first time on stage?
Oh yes.
And what was the time difference between the Metallica show and then you finally climbing on stage?
I think it took me 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah, because we start. Yeah, I think I started. 6 years. But of course, it was in my hometown. Small, very, very small stage. We were just.
At least there was a stage. I asked this question to a lot of people, and most of the time it was like, "There's no stage. I was on the floor."
No, it was a stage actually. But maybe it was a venue big as my kitchen. You know, it was a very, very small club.
Intimate. It was intimate.
But what was cool with that club, I think I think it's now destroyed or something. It's not existing anymore. But what was cool, it was that the band didn't pay for the club. No, there was no renting. No, the owner just took the money from the bar and let the band organize their gigs just like they want. So at the beginning, we were playing for maybe one box, per ticket.
Yeah.
But at the end, it brought more and more people, and we started to organize this monthly, and then the name of the band start to grow in our hometown, and it was a good time and good memory, and I think it was my first time on stage, I think.
Were you ready? Was the band in good shape? Were you prepared to play the show?
At that time?
Yeah.
Oh no, I think we were teenager, and we were totally fucked up, and we were so
The
excited
beers.
that and you know when you're 18, 20, you can drink as much as you can, and playing the day after and the day after,
Oh,
and
yeah,
do it again and again, which is not the case anymore, unfortunately.
No.
But at that time, yeah, we had so much fun. Yeah.
Amazing. And shout out to whoever was running that bar venue. So important for scenes to have people like that, to let young bands have the opportunity to play regularly, to really gain the experience before they can grow into a more mature band. So shout out to, we need more things like that in the metal scene across the globe.
Yes. Plus probably it was the same for you when we started. There were no internet.
No, exactly.
So for the promotion, it was important to play, because it was so important, and it was great. It was a great time.
I'm from Montreal, so Montreal has such a prolific metal scene. Everyone knows everyone. Once you're in, as long as you're a good human. But most people tend to be. So it was very easy in Montreal to find like-minded musicians to create a band that I wanted to be a part of. So. Something that you've done that I find very interesting, correct me if I'm wrong, but as what you've been saying, it sounds like this. Dagoba has been your only band, right?
Yeah.
That's very rare.
Oh, yeah.
I find that very cool that you've had one project, you've been doing it for more than half of your life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's incredible to me. Talk to me about what the persistence of sticking with it and not going off to create a side project or jump into a new project.
I think it's because of two things. First, I'm that kind of guy. I mean,
committed.
If I wasn't a musician, I would have been either a sport guy, but in a team, like football, or not a tennis man, not by myself, in a team, because I love the team, or working for the foreign legion, because I like the discipline, and I like the force, the strength when humans cooperate.
And exactly what a band needs to succeed.
So I don't like when I don't like to sing just by myself, or I don't like mercenaries, people that go and pick whatever they want from this entity. I'm not that kind of guy. And secondly, it's just because the motto of Dagoba is we are doing the music that we enjoy to play, and that we don't listen from other artists, and we are totally free, and we put whatever which influence we like into Dagoba. You can listen to there is electro, there is indus, there are classical instrument, ethnic instrument. So we chose to be free to create that type of music that just please us. So I don't feel the need to go and do something else. You know what I mean? And I think it's because of those two elements that I'm the one band guy.
I think it's awesome. It's extremely rare nowadays. So props to you for doing it and succeeding at it. 8th album by night. Let's talk about this. I've heard in other interviews we've done that you guys added more details and gimmicks into this album than other albums. Can you expand on that?
Yes. We really wanted to have more gimmicks from the synth part on this album.
Which is you do all the composing of the additional tracks, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was really important, and we wanted to have a strong gimmick on each song.
Okay.
It was important for us, and it was like a goal to us when we were.
Sorry, I'm going to cut you off. What comes first? Do you guys write the songs, or does the synth part sometimes inspire the song, or vice versa?
Most of time is first the riff,
okay.
then the arrangement. But on By Night, maybe once or twice, the synth sound inspired me for the riff.
Interesting.
After, yeah.
And that was the first. That was the first time that happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did that affect the riffs? Did it make you compose riffs that you typically wouldn't have written, maybe? Because it's coming from such a different place.
Yeah, maybe when you it's like if you find the guitar lead before the riff, you know. Then so when you have the synth gimmick, then the riff is more simple, you know. It's more like a bass. So this is the main changement, I think.
And you guys wanted to bring a modern face to Dagoba with this 8th record. 8th record, that's a lot of records. Good for you to keep creating, keep writing things, keeping it fresh, bringing in the electro, much more electro on the album. Where does that come from? Where is that inspiration coming from? What bands are you listening to that's you were like, oh, I want to bring more of this into Dagoba?
We always wrote synth parts, but on this record, it's I mean the amount is maybe a little bit higher, and because the riffs are more aerials, you can hear listen and more to the synth distinct more the synth part. And yeah, maybe also because I listen to a lot of electro, so I was like searching what kind of synths this DJ use, how those synths works, and being interested of what those guys are doing. I was like, maybe you can bring some of this into Dagoba.
Interesting. What artists would you be listening to that
I would advise DJ Zedd. Z-E-D-D is incredible. He's a great pianist. He's a great musician. And when he started music, he was a hardcore drummer, actually.
Really?
You can find some YouTube video of him playing drums. He's amazing.
Interesting. I think Olafur Arnest was also a metal drummer, who's a modern classical composer as well, the electronic music as well. And that's interesting that the extreme drummers to branching out to doing more electronic stuff. I wonder if it's because there's less gear to carry. But you got to drop. You dropped By Night right when the pandemic was sort of like loosening up again. If you could pick a perfect tour where you build the package to put By Night in front of the perfect crowd, what bands would be on that package? They could be bigger than you. They could be younger than you. It's up to you.
Just one band?
No, I would do like a package. So it's like you guys
Okay,
plus 3 bands.
I would say 9 Inch Nail,
Yeah.
Rammstein,
Oh yeah.
and Dagoba.
I'd go to that. I'd go to that show.
It would be a good night, I think.
I think so as well. I love collabs. I love making beers. I like making teas. I'm really into like building things with the Vox&Hops brand, with Cryptopsy's brand. What would be a perfect collab for Dagoba? Obviously, beer is not your main thing, so a beer for Dagoba might not be very exciting to you, but what would be exciting to have a Dagoba collab, a Dagoba branded something?
Actually, we I don't know how to say, but we own the brand Dagoba for gin.
Jeans, like
Yeah.
pants.
No, gin.
Oh,
Gin tonic.
gin. Oh, gin,
Gin.
amazing. Oh, so talk.
Yeah.
How did that all come together?
Because I like it, and I'm very interested of how the process of making gin interests me a lot. So for now, we just own the brand, but
Okay.
we have to meet the guy who are
Gonna
making
distill
gin.
it. Yeah.
So we can make our own blend.
Yeah.
And so it could be a good collab, and I hope it will happen soon.
I think that's super cool. Do you have a name for it that you could, or are you just gonna call it Dagoba Gin?
Dagoba, yeah, Dagoba Gin.
I think it's so cool. Very good. You should do that. I motivate you to continue that project and to push it forward. And if you ever do finish it, you know where to send a bottle.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to share it with some people on.
You like gin?
I love gin, actually. I like craft beer, obviously, but I am a gin guy. I like gin and tonics, and I like good gin. There you go.
Yeah.
With this Capri-Sun, it's amazing. I've been very lucky throughout the pandemic. We haven't had the chance to perform, so I've been lucky to have the pandemic where I've been lucky to have the podcast throughout the pandemic where I could sit down here and have chats with people across the globe. And right before I sit down here, I get this like same little feeling. Am I prepared enough? Is the internet going to work? It's how I've been filling the void of performing live. So what have you been doing to fill the void of getting that adrenaline rush that we typically get when we're on stage?
A lot of sport.
Okay.
And I work almost every day on my vocals, and
cool. Let's talk to me about that. How do you keep in shape vocally?
I just know about our set list that we are gonna play on the tour, and I have all the backing track, and I just sing. Of course, when I started, I was like singing one or two track, and my voice was like. But then the technique came back, and
funny how we forget. It's funny how we forget. If you don't do it for a while, you forget to do it. It's a weird thing.
Yeah,
but
at the end it comes back. So okay.
Very quickly, but it's like a moment of like, oh yeah, how do I do this again? It's I'm supposed to be really good at this. I feel like I was good at this before. Why is it so hard?
It's like you're searching for the button, you know. It's here, and then you find it. Yeah, this is my role, and it's okay.
Talk to me about discovering extreme vocals. At what point did you realize you were good at it?
I don't know if I don't even know if I'm good at it today. But yeah, I remember that I was, and I'm still a big fan of Pantera. And when I started to work on my growl, it was covering Phil Anselmo over and over again. And when I started to record one of their songs to cover I'm Broken, or I don't know, Shedding Skin, I don't know which one, but I was like, hey, it starts sounding cool. At that time, I was like, okay, I will totally stop covering any kind of band, and I will start to work on my own distortion and my own growl.
Yeah, because you need to. It's one of the first things, if ever people always ask me, how do you scream? How did you end up becoming a screamer? Can you show me? But the first thing I always say is like, you need to accept the sound of your voice.
Yeah, exactly.
Once you know, you are you, and you have to learn to love that, because you can work with what you are, but you need to love you first, because it's your sound. You can't sound like someone else, and you need to have an identity as an extreme vocalist. I think it's super important.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. What about health on when you're touring, vocal health? What do you do to stay in shape before you start doing your set in the base, or where you are right now at home? Do you warm up, or do you just jump straight into it?
I don't warm up. I don't really warm up, but what I can say is that I sleep a lot. I mean, yeah, in the tour bus, I can sleep like,
me too.
I don't know, 15 hours, 15 fucking hours a day.
Yeah,
I just sleep. Yeah. I just sleep and
it's because the kids are at home. That's why.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't get sleep again.
Exactly.
Wake me up at loaded.
Yeah, I just sleep a lot, and I'm not that kind of guy who say, yeah, drink tea with honey or stuff. No, I just sleep a lot, rest my voice, because when you sleep, you rest your voice. Plus, you don't talk to. You are not talking to many people. You know, your crew or your mates or whatever. You know,
there's 15 people on the bus, and we're yelling at each other. Basically, everyone's talking over everyone else. Yeah,
exactly. So you're just resting your voice, and it's okay.
It's a very good idea. You should do it. Go to bed, people. Don't stay up and party. Unless I'm there, you can stay up and party with me. One last question. Doesn't happen to you very often because you don't drink very often, but every once in a while, when you make that bad decision of staying up and not going to sleep on the tour bus, what is your hangover cure?
Water, lot of water, and food. Food help me. And that's it.
I love it.
And enduring, you know.
You gotta live through it. It's a part of the, you decide to have the party, you gotta decide to live through the next day and do all of the fatherly duties that we have to do, or all of the work obligations that we've chosen to get a part of. Shawter, thank you so much hanging out with me.
Thank you.
I really had a great time. We talked about life, we talked about metal, we talked a little bit about beer. This was great. Everyone, go check out By Night. Brand new Dagoba record. It's a banger. You're gonna love it. Cheers to you, Shawter.
Cheers, mate. Cheers.
Hey, thank you all so much for listening right to the end. You know that I love and appreciate that. Man, this was an awesome hang. I thought it was so cool that he was drinking a Capri-Sun, a juice, while I was also drinking a juice, but a different type of juice. Super fun, super interesting that he only been in one band. That blew me away. I finished the chat and I went for a walk with Jessica, and I just couldn't help talking about that, the fact that he's only ever been in one band. I just think it's amazing to have that musical freedom that they have in Dagoba, that they can bring any influences in. Very refreshing and very cool. Massive shout out to Shawter for taking the time to hang out with me. I most certainly enjoyed our time together, and I hope that he did too. If you enjoyed this Vox&Hops episode, you should sign up to the Vox&Hops Metal Podcast's mailing list. You can do that on my website, voxandhops.com. That's VOXANDHOPS.com. And when you do that, you shall receive 2 emails a month that will contain all of the details of everything that's been happening in the world of the Vox&Hops Metal Podcast. You'll get to see which episodes I dropped recently, which episodes I have coming up. You'll get to see which albums the Vox&Hops album review crew have reviewed recently. You'll get to see which albums Jerry Monk, the metal architect himself, has added to the Brutal Awakenings playlist, and you'll get the people that will hear about any of the projects that I have in the works first before I announce them to the public. There's just so much going on in the world of the Vox&Hops Metal Podcast. I'd hate for you to miss a single thing, so sign up to the mailing list. The Vox&Hops Metal Podcast is brought to you by Sound Talent Media and Evergreen Podcasts. I hope you have a glorious rest of the week. I have one more episode coming out on Friday. way, but until then, remember to enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. Cheers, Vox and Hops heads.